What's happening? Man, oh man. What's up, cuz?
What's happening?
Man, just we were talking about as are we talking about us getting older? Is that what it is? We're gonna stretch Theraguns.
Yeah. I didn't have those problems when I was younger.
Oh no, man. We could just jump and go, and like I don't even think about it. And I've got my rubbing down on my legs here, and I'm the Theragun. It sits on the sits by the couch, right? So anytime I'm kind of walking by, I grab that bad boy.
It's probably a lifesaver.
One of the best things ever.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. Oh, it's funny. Well, cool, man. I know, I want to jump right in. I know you've been doing a lot of deep work lately on several different things, and we were able to really unpack and share at a deep level because as you've gone deep on the work and what's going on in the marketplace. Man, I would love for you to, kind of retouch on some things to be thinking about, things that you're seeing, statistics, as you've been doing a ton of deep work around it. And I always think back because I mean, we did that every day, right? We put in the deep work on the market every day. We studied it. We looked at the market reports. We were in the MLS. We were looking at trends. We were just constantly students of the game. So it's kind of cool to kind of start to kind of get back into that. I'm sure it's that way for you.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I think, there's two directions things could go. I think, it's already definitely moving in a direction of change. Many of the top markets in the country are already seeing heavy price reductions, increase in days on the market. Inventory in the U.S. is in June increased the largest in the history of them recording the data by 18.7% year over year, which is still only 53.2% of what the inventory was in 2019. So we're still down in terms of inventory. Days on the market still really low, 32 days. Pendings are down 16.7% year over year. And the median price is still way up. So, there's, if you're just looking at, at some data, you could tell a story that, oh, nothing's changed. The median price is $450K. It's up 16.9% over last year. But the leading indicators, to the marketplace are what you want to pay attention to, and those other stats I just gave are the ones that are really telling the story of what's to come. And so I expect there to be, if nothing else, tomorrow, the Fed's going to announce recession or not, which is determined by 2 consecutive quarters of lower GDP. Most likely the case. We saw 9.1% inflation, highest it's ever been last month, which may have peaked. But in order to tame that, they're going to have to probably raise rates again another 0.75 of a point. And so, that's a huge increase. The average interest rate the last 50 years or 30 years or 50 years, I can't remember which graph I was looking at, but it's 7.7%. So like we're not even close to interest rates that we've seen before. But when you talk about affordability, the difference in a $1 million mortgage you can buy 40% less at 7.7% interest rate, which means you could buy a $600,000 house for the same $1 million or $600,000 mortgage cost you the same as what $1 million mortgage cost you in December of last year. So that's a really rapid, massive shift in affordability, where affordability is at the lowest it's been in 40 years as well, prior to this interest rate hikes that we're seeing. So, if they continue to do that, you have to assume that, buyers that maybe it made sense to move from where you're at to a less expensive place, but you're paying with the interest rate so much higher, you're probably not going to save money by doing that. And so it's going to slow down a lot of this, this COVID, post-COVID, shifting travel and the other thing that happens, in this type of market is, when the stock market, tanks the way it's been tanking this year, interest rates going up mean that any company that's carrying a loan balance, it's the carrying cost of carrying their debt is much higher for all of these companies. So when their carrying costs go up, they have to start cutting jobs. They have to start cutting certain areas. We've seen Compass do it. We've seen Redfin do it. These are companies that were, number one, not profitable but growing, right? And so the valuations of these companies drop dramatically. And so, they keep raising interest rates, carrying costs keep going up. These companies keep having to lay off. Valuations are going to be, pulled into question, which means we could see an even deeper dip in the stock market. Crypto's been getting beat way up. 80,000 people that had $1 million worth of crypto are no longer millionaires, according to one of the studies I was reading. That's a lot of people's net worth has disappeared already. And if there's more to come, another stock market crash leads to people just not making moves. It's a time where people are, when fear's in the streets, people tend to stay put and just kind of wait and see what happens. And so, there's not, I've read every argument on both sides because I'm not trying to be right. I'm trying to get it right. Yeah. But it seems to me that we're headed in for, in some markets more so than others even, and certainly some price points more so than others. Inventory, new construction, cancels, new build cancellation contracts we're up to 28% and 27% in Texas. Some states are higher than others, but those are way up where people are just pulling out of their contracts on new construction. So it's got everybody, rightfully concerned. I think, it's like, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. This is not like 07 and 08, but what is similar? What are the things that happen and, that are happening now that happened then? And what things can we expect? And then, hey, where's the opportunity in all of this is really the way you have to think about it. But, there's no better time now than to be the expert. Like we've been saying already the last couple of weeks, be the expert, know the data, be pulling up, use the tools that are available to you, keeping current matters. Real market reports, which basically they just take your MLS data and break it into quadrants. What was the one, John? We used to use a tool that broke things into quadrants, and there might have been, was that Altos? Okay, so yeah. Altos reports. I kind of like that. I kind of like that as an overall look at the marketplace because it's taken the upper quadrant of your price bracket and then the middle and then the bottom, and those quadrants are probably going to be a telltale. You're going to see different things in different quadrants. So the market is always local, but it's even more than that. It's even, it's more, based on the price bracket is going to be, there's a different amount of demand and a different amount of supply. And, historically the upper end market gets hit the hardest and the fastest. And so, that's probably what I would expect to see in most marketplaces already. Already hearing, stories of, we used to get a property in this neighborhood on the market, get 25 offers. Now we got one and it's below asking price. And so now we're going to start seeing price reductions because people have equity. You have the ability to reduce the price to sell if you really want to get it sold. People are used to things selling fast, so they're going to get antsy and try to get ahead of that. And that's where new markets emerge. Price brackets start to drop. People start dropping. Appraisals start to follow. And so just be paying attention to it. I think the only thing that could really save it at this point is if the Feds decide to lower the rates in the next go round, as opposed to raising the rates again. And even if they do, the fear is still going to be in the air that, man, they could go back up. Do we wait? Are they going to go lower or are they going to go back up? And so it'll still be, the affordability challenge will still be a problem. And so certainly fascinating times as usual.
It is. And, you said a couple things there I want to emphasize for just to kind of circle back around for everybody tuning in. And if you guys have any questions, comments, please throw it in and we'll unpack anything that you guys are wrestling with. But, it's that whole outcome over ego concept. And you said it in there. It's like you're looking at data from all sides of, from every angle because you're not trying to be right. You're trying to get to right. And that's, where we see, and I mean, this, I think a lot of people have a certain belief around something. And so they're looking for data to support. It's that whole confirmation bias, right? They're trying to confirm their belief instead of, hey, well, let me step back here and like really what's really going on. Right. And being able to look at it from all angles and really paying attention. What do you see kind of where, because that's just kind of how we've been wired, right? Hey, what's the truth? What's the data? What's everything really truly mean? And then where's the opportunity? Yeah. And it's like you said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. So we've got to ride some fun markets over the last,
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah, we have.
So where are you like saying, hey, this could be worth paying attention to?
Yeah. So, for me, if you don't have to absolutely buy a house right now, I think it might be a good decision to wait. The interest rates go up, your affordability goes down, but even if rates continue to go up, I think you're going to be able to get homes at a discount. It might be only 10% or maybe 20%. It might be as much as 30 or 40%, as some of the reports I've seen. In some markets may be the case, but when you really consider the fact that we had average appreciation the last 2 years of more than 30%, like that's insane. Like that's not realistic, right? Like, and at some point during all of this, I think everyone is going, this is not going to last forever. There's no way it can continue at this pace. And so common sense tells you that things probably have to adjust. Things are it's a correction in the marketplace. And so, I think, if you don't have to buy, if you're going to buy your forever home and you're going to live there forever and it's the perfect home for you, then buy it. If not, it might behoove you to be a little bit more patient. I know with investments, I'm not confident enough in crypto to go deep. I'm not confident enough in the equities and the stock market to say that it's not going to dip lower. So, I'm not going to try to time the bottom, but I want to have cash on hand so that when deals do arrive, that, I have the ability to make a strong offer and purchase. And I have to buy something by May of next year. So this is part of my situation here in Puerto Rico, but I've already seen prices starting to come down. And so it's kind of an interesting, you can't lose if you're not, if you're not putting your money out there. You can't lose it if you're, a lot of people say, oh man, cash is trash. This inflation is eating your money away. Yeah, well, I put a bunch of that in the stock market, and about 40% of it disappeared, and about 50% or more of it disappeared in crypto. So it doesn't disappear when it's in my bank account. So like, hang on to your cash and be cash strong. During this next 18 to 24 months, I think will be your best probably bet.
Yeah, and you had said something earlier too, to kind of blood in the streets and kind of what people will do. Well, that triggers, kind of that lizard brain, to where it's typically fight or flight. But what a lot of people, it's like, well, it's fight or flight. Well, there's also a component to that called freeze.
Right.
And, for a lot of agents right now that maybe haven't had an opportunity to ride through, the ups and downs of a changing market, a lot of them are hitting that stage, right? To where they're just paralyzed, they're freezing. What would you say to, the agents kind of listening in, or as a leader listening to this, to be able to convey that message to their agents of, hey, do not get paralyzed, and kind of what do they need to be thinking about to continue to keep moving forward?
Well, I think, and I think this is really in any marketplace. I think if you're an agent that's advising people on the largest transactions they're making in their lifetime, you want to be giving them, you want to be the most knowledgeable so that you can give them the best advice. You can't tell them what to do, but you can guide them with the right data. And so, when there's uncertainty, you need to bring certainty. You need to be on top of the market. You can go to, I've got a running document here that has this. I'll pull up just so I have a couple reference points, but the best thing you could pay attention to, hands down, in my opinion, is Realtor.com's monthly housing market trends report. So if you Google Realtor.com monthly housing market trends report, the June one is up, and a lot of the data that I've shared is from in there. I think they've made some pretty wrong predictions this year, especially as it relates to where the rates were going to be by the end of the year. We're already way past that. And we have multiple opportunities for the Fed to raise the rate, between now and the end of the year. So they made some adjustments to some of their numbers and whatnot. But that's a really good trends report just to see, hey, what happened last month, and they break some things down into different areas and regions and things of that nature, which some of it is helpful, but sometimes it doesn't encompass some of the other markets. Like a Boise, Idaho is not included in, some of these bigger, larger markets that they look at data wise. And Boise may have a better or worse situation because they had a lot of influx of people that moved into Boise. So they, I don't know what the supply and demand looks like there. I don't know how many, how that market might be different than other markets, but that data is not included in some of this information. So just be diligent about knowing the market, and studying up, because, you're giving people and at the same time, this is, if you want to be the voice in your marketplace, the voice of reason, not the voice of paranoia, but the voice of reason, be putting out this kind of content. I mean, is the market crashing? Is the real estate market crashing? ? That's a headline that a lot of people that are thinking about doing something in real estate they're going to tune in and listen to.
That's right.
And so, it's, you kind of get your tuning fork to what's going on. What are people fearing? What are they thinking? And, be that expert that brings that data to the table. And, you'll be able to do deals. Deals are going to be done. It's not, what was it? 5.9 million home sales in 2021 was the most that we've ever had historically. It's a lot of real estate transactions. It usually hovers around 5 million, but is there going to be less transactions? Maybe significantly less. I'm not so sure about that. It'll be less of a frenzy, and there'll be some price adjustments, but there's still going to be tons of home sales. And so you just want to be the one that's talking to your sellers ahead of time, not selling them on the big vision of, you're going to clean up with all your equity, but to, let them know that the market changes just like the stock market changes daily. The real estate market in a shifting market is changing daily. New pendings are going under at prices we don't know, and new houses are coming on the market at prices you should be paying attention to. And right. Houses that were on the market are getting reduced, which puts your house in a different position every time something happens. And so you just have to be paying attention to it. That's all. It's I got a couple questions. What's up, Antonio? What's up, Brian, the tattooed agent? What's up, man? I've heard good stories about you, really killing it. He says he uses Altos reports. Antonio, What's up, man? Can't see all your names if you're on Facebook, just so you know, because we can't. They don't put the names on here, so I can't call you out, or I would. Other than KCM, good places for real estate market news. The reason I like KCM is because they take Case-Shiller and Realtor.com, and they take all the experts and they put them all together and create their data sets based on all of the places that you could go to research that for yourself. So I like KCM for that. I like, Case-Shiller has some good reports that are out there in real time. And then Realtor.com. Those are seem to be the three kind of biggest, the biggest ones. Redfin's been putting out a lot of good data reports as well. And those are the best ones probably that I've seen. But if you just start trying to do your research, you'll find there's a lot of good data out there.
Yeah. And I think looking at too, and just what Alex was sharing, don't go more than, 30, 60 days back on solds. But he said, what you look at is not what it's sold for, but what they entered the market at, listed at. So that's kind of like one of his numbers that he likes to look at. Hey, if it sold for 6, but it came on the market at 520, he's paying attention to that 520 number more than the 6.
Right.
And he got caught on a deal. Positioned it in the mid 5s, sold for over 6. And he was like, well, maybe we can enter the market at 6 and get whatever. Right. So he got caught, and he knows, and he's like, we shouldn't have done that. We should have still been under 6. And just being able to, understand, the pricing strategies. And also, hey guys, you guys got to have the conversation about, positioning the home in the market. The market's going to tell us where we need to be. This is kind of the things that we need to be paying attention to. And you got to have that conversation on the front end, and like learn how to, have that tough conversation about, hey, the market speaks. Like if we come in too high, we're gonna have to talk about repositioning this home.
Yeah. You got the problem, the challenge with this. And I actually did a content thing with Curtis Dixon for EXP, just kind of on all of this and kind of your process and the way, some of the things you have to navigate, because when you're meeting with a seller who's also meeting with an agent who is an idiot, which that's generally going to be the case, that they want to win the listing so bad that they're not willing to tell them what they need to hear. They'll tell them what they want to hear. That's just the reality. That's 99% of agents that that don't really sell anything, but they want people to believe that it's worth this. Yeah, sure. Yeah. That's what I think it's worth. And sellers will use hope as a strategy. So you have to get really good at helping them to identify what's actually true in the marketplace. And the way you're positioned, as you need to be positioned as the expert. You're not there to win a listing. You're there to advise them on their financial goals around moving a piece of real estate. And so, it's important that, you have a process for how you kind of gain authority so that they do listen to you. Because at the end of the day, if they don't listen to you, even if they like you better than the other agent but they don't listen to you when you're advising them, then they're going to be behind the 8 ball. They're chasing the snowball downhill, in those types of situations.
Give some ideas how people can position themselves as the authority in their marketplace. What are some things that they could do? Low cost, no cost, just things that they could do.
Yeah. Well, obviously, this is our, this is like, this is what we do.
For you.
What you should be doing is you should be paying attention to what we teach at NAEA, because everything at the National Association of Expert Advisors is about being positioned as the expert. And being positioned as the expert is not just being an expert. You can be an expert, but people don't know you're an expert until they actually do business with you. So how do you position yourself before you ever arrive as the source and force in the marketplace, right, for someone who wants to hire the best person to help them with their situation? And so, we have, magazine tear sheets where you're on the cover of a magazine. That's once you're certified and you've gone through our certifications on the sell side, on the buy side, you end up following our process, or at least you learn it to have an opportunity to follow the process. And, what information they see prior to you arriving to meet with them is going to determine. Otherwise, they're judging you based on what you're wearing or if you get there on time or whatever. But if you don't want the appointment to be about giving them price. You want the appointment to be about like a doctor's appointment, where you're going in and you're going to look at all the information and you're going to determine what is the best thing to prescribe to them. And you want to be positioned in such a way. I'm not here to try to win a listing. I'm here to advise you in a way to help you to accomplish your goal. And if I can't do that, I'm going to tell you. And so that's why when we sit down with the seller and they see a magazine tear sheet, we don't talk about it, but the assumption is, if you're on the cover of a magazine, is that you must know what you're doing. So that when you understand the subconscious mind and how things work, people come to trust based on little things that they see along the way. And that's one of the little things that when people see, so you're on the cover of this magazine, and the interior of that magazine, you don't have to create or any of that. It's all based on our principles and our system and process. So that's, I highly recommend. We're probably, our stuff is probably more valuable now than it's ever been. Yep. Going into this marketplace, because you've never probably had to get a price reduction in the last 10 years. Like it's crazy to say that, but like a lot of folks have never even had to get a price reduction. Like, let me tell you, if you don't have a process for that, they don't like to reduce their price. They want to just hold firm and sit still and not do anything. And if you don't, this is where this is where other opportunity comes up. Is people will list their house, they'll never call the agent will never call them, never go over market data with them after they've listed it. And, after a few months, they feel bad. So now they don't really don't want to call them. And then, it expires. And then, now it's an opportunity for you to go pick up a listing. And so those are going to be, there's going to be much more opportunity in the FSBO, having a harder time, and with expireds in the upcoming markets that haven't been as plentiful in the past. And that's all, that's low hanging fruit stuff, right? Like this is, if you focus, I don't know anybody in any marketplace in the country starting today that couldn't make $250,000 a year just working FSBOs. Like, it's just such a huge opportunity. Yep. But you have to learn somewhere, and you might go out there and get a handful of no's, but a handful of yeses goes a long way to your budget to really build up your market share.
Yeah, it's the whole thing too, right? It's just the math equation, right? Offers minus no's equals yeses. And if you're not getting the amount of yeses you want, you're not making enough offers to either the expireds for sell by owners, just to who an ideal client or opportunity would be to get the no's to be able to get the yeses. And, cause they're kind of thinking about looking at that creating that authority. And we did a really, really good job of obviously being everywhere, right? The billboards, but where we really created a position of authority was through radio, and being able to leverage that and the local celebrities in the marketplace, and being able to have their endorsement for, you are the expert, right? There's something about somebody that has an audience that's validating your credentials, gives you that authority. And, I'm not saying, hey, jump out there and go do radio, but what another strategy is doing this right here, doing this live and talking to the influencers within your community, talking to the small business owners that are really driving the change that goes on in your marketplace, right? And understanding how your city is ran, right? The city manager ran our city, right? They ran Lawton. Obviously, all of the influencers and the small business owners had influence on that person and could kind of, get them to do what needed to be done for the betterment of the city, being plugged into the economic development committee and really finding, for us, right, like with David and all of the small business owners that really had a voice or had the ear of the decision makers in the marketplace, we aligned with them and we provided them what we're talking about with the data in the market and really what's going on. I mean, some of our favorite conversations was just popping in and talking to David there at Arvest for hours about the market, where things are going, where's the opportunity. And, just those conversations have a ripple effect because, David's out there singing our praises to everybody. It's like, you got to get with these guys. These guys know the market better than anybody. So that's what I'm wanting everybody that's getting this is, one, you got to be knowledge, you got to know it. But then, you've got to be able to, get that message out there. And there's low cost, no cost ways. I mean, shit, you got a local TV station, do whatever you can to provide information and say, hey, if you guys are looking for an interview on what's going on in the market, hit me up. I would love to do it. Somebody in the newspaper, right? Hey, if you guys are looking for an article of what's going on in the news, what's going on in the market, hit me up. And then now you have all of this content that you get to repurpose. Like, the newspaper may be dead, nobody may see it, but you can also take a picture of it and post it on your social media and through, community groups. You're positioning yourself as the authority, and it's so key. And you nailed it. I mean, this is what we've done for the last 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, there is a ripple effect to all of those things. And, you don't know, and it might not be, that person's out there even singing your praises, but if they say, hey, they're talking to, one of their employees or whatever, and they're like, yeah, I think we're going to, sell our house. We're thinking about calling, Jay Kinder. Now he's going to validate that. Right. Mm-hmm. And so instead of them maybe listening to somebody else who said to call Joe Blow, they, they got validated. You got somebody that's validating. Yeah, you definitely should call them. They, those guys know what they're doing. And so, it's all the same things that we've been preaching forever. If you got by the last several years not doing some of these things, it's not too late. You can start a podcast tomorrow. And this is one of the things that I love the idea of doing, which is, we did a radio show, right, on whatever it was, Sunday mornings or whatever, which had a very small listener base, but we didn't have the social media we have today for us to, that would have been a podcast. And we were interviewing, the mayor, we were interviewing every person that was the head of anything, yes. Whether it was the university or whatever it might be, but
housing, everything.
The perception in those interviews, and they almost always will all say yes, to an interview. And, you're helping, position whatever their agenda is and whatever they want, to out there, what I'm saying, in that interview, they're going to talk about the things they want to talk about. And they're going to want to share those things. And then it puts you in a position of authority because you're the one doing the interviewing. And to be honest with you, it's the easiest kind of content to create because you're not, you don't have to be an expert. You just have to be curious. If you're curious and ask questions, the content comes from who you're interviewing. And so, but just the fact that you probably are the only one doing that, and you're the only one promoting that, it just validates everything that you're doing as the go-to person in your marketplace.
Yeah. And, I love what Blake does. Blake still does the radio show every week, but he streams it live, right? Like right. The radio has a listening base, but he's also got his audience on social media, and he just sets this up and goes live right when he's doing the thing and streams it right into social media. So, you know, you don't have to go make those investments. You can do this at such a low cost. And if you just stay consistent with it, you're going to win. And it's, just because most people, they can't stay consistent. They can't stay consistent in those activities. So being able to create the systems and processes and structure to where you can stay consistent with it, man, just being able to just create those connections and those relationships is powerful within your marketplace. I mean, shit, I can't even quantify the investment that we all made into the community that just ripple effects even to this day is still present from just genuinely pouring into the community.
Right.
It's awesome. Tamer was asking about, the marketing idea around the seminar. I think those are great. However, that's going to attract buyers. Our our default is always go get the listings. So if you're going to do something, how could you do something around, trying to help you get more listing opportunities?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, the idea of the seminar, the challenges you get, you end up with a lot of what we used to call plate lickers, looking for a free meal, but not doing a lot. I think with social media and the platforms that we have today, that you can deliver that content on a much greater scale without having the limitations of people having to come in, to a location. And in today's world, I mean, how many of you other than me have DoorDash and Uber Eats charges out the yin yang on your credit card statement every month, right? Like we tend to not go out as often. Over a couple of years of being forced to do so, we've kind of a lot of folks have become. I know for me here, I rarely. I went to the bank today. I wasn't even going to bring this up because I was so pissed off. It took me a half hour to fucking get calmed down. I don't like leaving the compound here, and if everybody will come to me. I got a masseuse coming to me tomorrow. I mean, pretty much anything you want comes to you. I don't have to go anywhere. And so every time I go somewhere and it's a miserable experience, which is pretty much everywhere you go, in terms of just slow, the bank is the absolute worst. Like all I wanted to do was move money from my account to my other account. I have to go in person. I have to wait in line with everybody else, all of them wearing masks still, every single person, which drives me crazy. And then they need a signature card from another bank so that they can make sure that it's my signature to move my money from my account. Don't worry about my ID. This has my ID and has my signature on it. You have to have the ID card from the bank. And then somebody has to approve that so that I can put money from one account to, and I can click with one button in the United States and do that, right? Like, I'm there for an hour. You know what I'm saying? Like, just so ridiculously behind. It's insane. But yeah, so for those kind of reasons, I'm staying home a lot more. But it's I think it's easier to reach them on platforms. So take the same concept, apply that to a podcast, or something that's online would probably produce better results.
Think about human behavior, right? So everything that you just shared right there, you need to think about that in also how you're delivering your service. And you nailed the key word. And I know it's the digital marketer boys. That's the word that they're throwing out, is that you've got to be, everything you do, you have to be mindful of the experience. And so think about that in your branding. Think about that in your lead generation strategies. Think about that in your interactions, your conversations, the ease of being able to meet with you, to either showing properties or face-to-face. What is that experience that they have with you? Then the experience through the transaction to the closing table and then beyond, right? That's lifetime value. And that's and I'm going to come back to another word, and it's just out of Cam Haines' book. And sure, he's like, you got to be obsessive. And if you're not obsessive, then you're going to be average. And what does Tony Robbins say about average? And so none of you guys listening into this call want to be average. And so you have to obsess about this knowledge, your skill set. But when you're dealing with your clients and your community, you have to obsess over their experience with your brand. with you, with your team, with your, the whole process that you take them through. And I mean, if you can just take that belief and think through as a filter in everything you do, you're going to come out ahead. You can't help but come out ahead if you stay obsessive about the market, stay obsessive about the experience. I mean, you're going to win. It's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time.
Yep.
Yeah, we just don't go, man. And I think too, it's also valuing our experience and valuing our time, right? Why would I want to go to the grocery store when I can click, a couple buttons and it's delivered within a couple hours? Like, why would I want to go do those things when you start to understand the value of your time and also your own experience? It's really good.
Plus gas prices.
Yeah, buddy.
There's not going anywhere.
I fill up at a half a tank, so I feel better when I see the ticket price.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I put more miles on golf carts than I do on cars.
Yes, I love it. That's awesome. Because I know you got to jump here in a couple minutes. Anything that we want to, just kind of drive home with everybody as we're already wrapping up, this month here of July and the third quarter, getting ready to keep punching it in, getting to, obviously a lot of transition, kiddos going back to school. There's a lot of things happening. What can they be mindful of moving into the rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're we've been talking about it. It's pay much closer attention to your marketplace and to the data. That's the thing to be most mindful about. Studying the market, the things we talked about. That's going to become it's the most important thing. There's nothing else that's going to be more important. And the reason why is because everything else that you do to grow your real estate business is based upon its conversations. How many conversations you've had in one way, shape, or form. And so, what conversations you'll be able to have with confidence about what's going on in the marketplace. That's going to be important during those conversations. And so you're still going to talk to leads, but you're going to have more ammunition, more knowledge to transfer, more to build authority and build trust and all of those things. And so double down on the effort it's not going to be it's not going to be as easy. Double down on your qualifying. A real seller has to sell versus I'd like to sell if I can get this. Qualifying a buyer that has to buy versus a buyer that doesn't have to buy. So and spending your time with the right qualified people in the marketplace is going to be important as well.
That's it, man. You nailed it. It is so important. And a lot of people they've skipped that step over the last few years. And it's that whole, skipping steps only presents the illusion of speed. Don't skip that step. The one question you don't ask is the question you get hit with when you actually are able to get face to face. And you could save yourself a lot of time and energy and frustration by just asking a handful of questions to make sure that they're truly qualified. Cuz appreciate you as always. Man, tons of great stuff. I know we'll keep doing the deep work and keep getting the message out. And for all of you guys, you're leaders. It's your responsibility to arm yourself with this and then, cascade that out to your team, your community as well.
Hey, before we jump off, I want to answer. Tammy just put something in at the very bottom here. It deserves a response. So I sold real estate for 18 years. I'm a broker. I only have 3 agents, still do well. 2008 was actually a good year for me. I make 6 figures consecutive, but feel mediocre. So first of all, you're not mediocre. The mediocre is selling 6 deals a year. That's the average agent. I think everybody that takes the time to tune in is hungry, humble, smart, wants to grow, is more valuable than you probably give yourself than you give yourself credit for. So you're definitely not mediocre. You're well above average just with what you're doing. Top 1% or 5% for sure, probably, right? So give yourself credit as a professional in this business that's doing it and has been doing it for as long as you have. That's not the case with every real estate agent. So that, and then I think one of the things that we've always valued, and this is a good signing off point, I guess. We've got Build coming up, which is the event August 20.
Second, 23rd, 24th, 25th. Yeah.
Right. So that's coming up in August. And when you get around, people consistently that are operating at a higher level, and it really just boils down to like, they've just learned something you haven't learned yet. Right. And it's probably something about getting customers or ways to leverage your business or ways to generate more income. And they've leveraged that to grow and grow bigger and faster. And so, if you're stuck or if you're at a place where you feel like you're at a ceiling and you want to break through, it's getting around the folks that have done what it is you're trying to do. And more importantly, people like us who have systems and processes for how we help people break through to that next level is really the secret to success. It's the shortcut. And so, if you're feeling like you're ready, you want to bust through to the next level, it's just simply something you haven't learned yet. That's all it is. And anybody can move to, any level on the playing field. You can get better at anything. And so when you surround yourself with the right people, getting to these live events, we talked about, people like stay home or whatever. That's not going to be the case when it comes to events. You got to get out of your market, out of your personal life, and get around people that are operating at a higher level or listening to these types of calls and just learning what things are, what things are you doing or you're not doing? Where could you be getting better? And then, you got to at some point do the deep work of, doing the work in order to get to that next level. If it's, whatever the goal might be. So, but at any rate, just wanted to make that point. Yeah. The clarity report will help you for sure, because, you've been doing this 18 years, I've been in it 25 years. And if you don't get real clear on where you want to be, 18 years goes by really fast. And so, I think that's something that, if you're only been in the business a short period of time, you cannot imagine how fast the time flies in this business. And so make sure that you have a process. The clarity report that you're filling out is the process we use to help people get clear on, hey man, what do I want my life to look like? Like in 18 years, do you have 3 agents? Do you have 10? Do you work on the weekends or evenings or no? But the more clear you get about what you want life to be like for you, what your business to be like for you, and what really inspires you, the more you can take steps deliberately in that direction to get there.
100%, man. I love all of that. And, environment is a little saying, right? Environment is greater than willpower. And if you tend to be feeling a little defeated, look at that circle around you immediately. And, also if you haven't gone through The Gap and the Gain, that book will give you the framework to, realize you're winning every day. I mean, 18 years, you don't survive anything for 18 years, you're winning.
Right.
And, I think sometimes, we're especially hard driving entrepreneurs, tend to beat themselves up a lot more. And so realize and pay attention that you are winning and realize how far you've really come. And love that. I'm glad you caught that and were able to address it.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, cuz. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate you guys.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in.
We'll see you.
Appreciate you guys. Yep.